Well, hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I know rolling stock reviews don't get as much of attention as locomotive reviews get. Usually people are like, oh, here's another piece of rolling stock, but this here is something very different. This is a Walthers Proto 89-foot Greenbrier TTX flat car, and the unique thing about this is this car is basically a convertible just like the real thing. There are container pedestals that can be adjusted up to accommodate two 20-foot or four 20-foot or two 40-foot containers, just like the real thing. So we're going to look at this model because being able to do that in HO scale is a little bit of a feat of engineering. I don't know if it's the first time in a freight car has really had this capability, because as soon as I say that as a definitive statement, somebody will make a comment down in the comments that, hey, this was made 3 years ago or 10 years ago or 15 years ago. But it is a neat feature, so let's see what you get in the Walthers Proto 89-foot Greenbrier TTX flat car starting right now. Alright, let's unbox one of these. So the unboxing is usually from the end without the label. Other end is kind of sealed up. In the back here you have a little handout explaining the prototype history, which I will cover with you. The parts list and exploded parts diagram. You can see all of those parts make up this Walthers Proto car. So very, very detailed car. Walthers Proto is the top of the line in the Walthers brand, and frankly in the industry in a lot of aspects as well. That was just the backing that you saw slide out back there from the box, so no other paperwork other than what I showed you. The model comes out fairly simply, but I want to show you, because of those little convertible areas there, there is a thin plastic film. You can probably see it shine off the lights there. You just want to get a hold of and peel like so, and you'll do that all the way down the car. As you can see on the top of the car there, other than a track for like military vehicles or vehicle loads, there are all those little areas where you can convert the car. So these cars were built in the 60s. They are 89 foot in real life, so they're going to be a little over a foot long and 1/87th. And they were made to basically handle intermodal and general service areas. In 2017, TTX had unveiled a new generation of these big flat cars designed for basically military equipment, which I had already mentioned. Now, the military equipment, as you can see here on the car, there's some treaded areas where those wheels would rest. Obviously, they're going to have to be chained down as well. So they were used in military trains a lot. This new design, though, offered basically flexibility to be both the military equipment, flat car loads, but also the fact that it has 4 parallel universal chain channels, tie-down chains, and a series of adjustable chain anchors. Now, as you can see all along here, in 3 areas in the middle with double placement, and on the end with single placement there, and on this end you have those retractable container pedestals, and they're built into the floor, and they allow for quick conversion to carry 4 20-foot or 2 40-foot shipping containers. I know I got tripped up on what they carry in the beginning, but that's what they carry. So carrying capacity 110 tons in real life. You probably don't want to put 110 tons on the model. The cars are made mostly lighter for lighter tracked wheels and vehicles. Wheeled vehicles and tracked vehicles. So They were built in side stake pockets as well. They had side stake pockets, winches for web strapping or wire ropes, and banding anchors. So to help prevent the shifting, each car has in-car cushioning, and just so you know, there's 1,200 of these floating around as of 2019. So quite a few of these, but let's look a little more detailed at the 360 of this car. So going along the edge of the car, you have obviously stirrups. There's all the tie-down points, jacking pads. You've got metal wheels. There's the load limit specifications on the side. The road number is also on the side. You've got TTX logo. We've got various TTX logos to show you, new ones, older ones. There's the brake line rigging below, along with more rigging there on the side, writing on the outside of that truck there. So you can see the detail and all the tie downs. It's pretty heavily detailed model, and that's what Walthers Proto is on the top end of these detailed models. So we'll flip this around here, try to get this back into focus for you. That stirrup was my fault, this little hand rail on the end. I kind of bent that with rough handling, but I can straighten it out and reposition it and show you the other versions. Got grab irons on the ends here. You got a Walthers coupler with a magnetic glad hand. If you look closely, you can see the FRA striping. It's a different yellow than the yellow of the vehicle. It's since 2006 they've been required to put those on freight cars and locomotives so that people don't run into the trains in the dark. There's a reflective side. I guess that happened. I'm sure it happened because anytime the government does anything, it's something kind of like or can be an overreaction from one single incident. But that's why you have the reflective striping there represented. Is it actually reflective? No, but you can see the difference there in the contrast. You see the little yellow stripe versus the vehicle, and I think they did a really good job with that as well. As we look at the top, these are the tread marks, as I was showing you, kind of resting areas for tires to help settle in the vehicles. They're not going to be able to roll just with that. They're going to be tied down. That's where all those tie downs come into place. And then if you're using this car for containers for intermodal and not military vehicle use or flat car use, then there are those little conversion areas we're talking about. There's single ones on the end, and there are sets of two, and then single on the end again. Now, how do you get this to work? I got to show you the underside for that. So I'm going to place something here to hold this vehicle up. And speaking of underside, you can see the coupler pockets, the metal wheels, the air reservoir for the brake lines themselves, even the support beams for this car, and all the brake line rigging. But let's get back to one of the actual positions where these retractable container pedestals are. So there's two. I have to zoom out a little bit here. There's two right here. So I'm just going to take this skewer and we're going to push gently on this area here. That's going to push those up. You see the doors now are slightly open. So I'm going to open that. It's got a little hinge. So now those doors are open, and I'm going to go back under. I'm going to push that container pedestal up on each side. So you can use anything kind of non-abrasive to do that, and then you can finish pushing or pulling them. Like the skewer is great because you just get it in there and pop it out, and now we have the container pedestal in the open position, ready for container loads. So that is what and how you do that. Pretty impressive in my opinion. Now we have a bunch of these lined up. I wanted to show you the variations. You got TDPX here with the more recent TTX logo. JTTX, sorry, I put in an extra T there, with the classic TTX logo. XTTX, again with the more modern TTX logo. And PTTX with the classic one again. So even though they're the classic TTX logo, all four of these have the FRA reflective striping applied. Again, not actually reflective, just a representation of the reflective striping. So that is about it for these flat cars. Let's do a couple tests just so you know the rolling stock stuff we do to make sure they run good and things like that. So a real quick top-down view to explain something to you here. It's pretty simple. I know everybody has imagination, so they'll be able to understand, but all of my 20-foot containers are absolutely buried under a gigantic box of 53-foot containers. So we're going to skip actually placing containers on this, but you can imagine how it would work. The 420-foot is simply putting up these two, and you'll have 4 20-foot areas to put 4 20-foot containers. One single stack, you won't be able to do double. So the container pedestals for 40-foot containers, or you're just going to put up these ends here and the center, each one in the center. So you'd skip over this middle one that's a quarter of the way up the car, obviously, for those to be able to sit flat. So that's how the container pedestals work. You can do 420s lined up or 240s. I was going to run by with containers and they were just completely buried, so we'll do a bare table run by. But before we do, these things roll like butter, like absolute butter. There's no problems with rolling whatsoever. They're going to glide, they're not going to drag down your train, so that's good. The NMRA compliance, to keep this video short and sweet, was good on coupler height and wheel sets. So if you don't believe me, I can post a picture of that in the comments section of my YouTube channel. So really neat cars to be able to do that in HO scale. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Be sure to pick things up like this if you're looking at them, because they do disappear quickly. They'll be there 1 minute and gone the next when people realize that these type of things have features like these. All right, here's a side profile real quick. That way you can see on the car themselves the retractable container pedestals kind of in their open position where they're going to be containing those containers, if you will. Back here on the rear one, there's also one up, but this is just a one container pedestal up here. So looks like the camera wants to focus on everything but if you zoom in, you can see that detail there. Well, I hope you enjoyed the different variations of the TTX Greenbrier flat car from Walthers Proto. It was really neat how they made that conversion possible with the container, being able to put containers on there or flatbed loads. So hopefully you enjoyed that, and if you were kind of struggling to figure out how to make that work, this video will serve as a how-to. Also, we'll leave you with a run by of a few of these, and we'll see you next time right here on the channel. Take care.